When the ID.4 first came out about a year and a half ago, I always thought it was a bit uninspiring. The closest thing I could compare this to is a glass of water. Bland but refreshing, and sometimes a little cool. The 2022 VW ID.4. This ID.4 in particular belongs to my friend Andy. It's a 2022 ID.4 Pro S, the rear-wheel drive model with the gradient package, and it's painted in moonstone gray. The MSRP for a loaded example like this one is around 48 grand. If you want something a little bit more affordable, the base model Pro starts at around 41 grand and closer to 30 with the tax credit. Now, of course, because this is an electric vehicle, there's no engine, but there are two powertrain options that both use 82 kilowatt hour batteries. Now, one of the weird things about this car that I would expect, from an electric car is having a frunk. And this car does not have a frunk. And VW's answer to the ID.4 and other ID models not having a frunk is just because they didn't design it to have a frunk. All you have is your brake fluid reservoir, washer fluid, and coolant reservoir. But there's two powertrain options. This one is the base rear-wheel drive. It makes 201 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. And you could get a dual motor all-wheel drive setup that makes 295 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque. That one I'm interested to drive because I've spent a few days with this and I have a lot of thoughts about it that we'll talk about later, but not too bad. 0 to 60 for this one, the rear-wheel drive is 7.3 seconds, and VW claims for the all-wheel drive it's about 5.1 seconds. So in terms of charging, you pop open this big port here and you can plug it in. The car does come with a supported charger, but that thing takes forever to charge this car. So I'm charging the car right now, and this is the supplied charging cable that it comes with. But something interesting and something that surprised me, the car is at 72% right now. Look at how long it says it's going to take to charge to 100%. Because I'm just doing it to 100, just to 80%. It's going to take 9.5 hours. Tomorrow morning, 7:41 a.m. is when it's supposed to finish charging. Oh my God. VW also claims that with a level 2 charger from 0 to 80% or a full charge, whatever they consider a full charge, 7.5 hours. So there's two chargers, like one charger near my house that I just discovered. And this is an issue that it seems is prevalent. This one is broken, and so it won't work with the car. So it's supposed to, click into here, but it just falls out. This one works, and I'm hoping it's a level 2 charger, because right now the car says it'll 9:48 a.m. It's charging faster than the one at home, so I'm assuming this is a level 2 charger. So because this has the gradient package, you get these 20-inch alloy wheels, which look nice for an EV. They're, designed to be aerodynamic, but you also get the black roof and silver accents on the roof with silver roof rails. Something interesting though that I figured out about the wheel and tire setup on this car is that it's actually staggered. The fronts are 235s and the rears are 255s. So that should make it feel more sure-footed on a back road, which is something we will also find out. And also because this car has all the bells and whistles, you can open the tailgate with your foot. It actually did it. I had to do that 3 times in a row. But behind the second row seats up, you get 30 cubic feet of volume, just around 30. If you fold the second row seat down, you get around 64 cubic feet of volume, which isn't huge, but it's not too bad. You could probably fit 2 or 3 suitcases behind the second row and then put many more with the seats down. But if I close it, I can do it like this too. It should do it. No? It did it, but now it's just beeping. It's upset at me. Let's see. So if I swipe my foot, it'll do it, Let's see. Why? Whatever, man. This just, you can't rely on technology all the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
So in terms of amenities for the rear seat passengers, this is actually the first time I've sat in the back. Now, wow, the seat bottom is firm compared to the front seat. The front seats I'll talk about in a second, but the bottom is firm. It's not bad. I'm actually kind of comfortable back here. It does feel very roomy because of this big sunroof. I like that. I don't like all the piano black plastic that's in the back of the car too, because if you put your knee on it, if you put your hand on it, so much, like the fingerprints everywhere, everywhere. You do get an armrest with 2 cup holders and what looks like maybe the size of like a yogurt bottle, you know, those little kid yogurt bottles. That's something it looks like. There's also, oh, a pass-through. Nice, that's something nice. There's a pass-through, and like I said, this is a 60-40 split rear seat. Let me see if this reclines. The seat does not recline, but headroom is pretty good. I'm 5'9". I have decent legroom. The driver's seat is where I would sit in the car. I can fit my feet under the seats. There's 2 air vents in the middle and 2 USB Type-C ports, so very good on that. Now into the front seat of the car, because this is where most of you people, that sounds bad, would be. You put your foot on the brake to start the car, and then to actually get going, you put it in drive, but I just want the climate control to be on. Now, since I'm already looking at all this, 3-spoke leather wrap steering wheel. Feels very nice. It's a very nice thickness. More piano black plastic. Everything is touch sensitive, but you do actually have to click it in. One thing, I'm going to mention the gauges, but one thing that's weird about this electric car is that it has a check engine light. I don't know what codes you'd find on, an electric car, but that was something that I found interesting. But speaking of the gauges, it's very motorcycle-like, and it moves with the steering wheel up and down, in and out. There are a few things you could swipe through, not really. It just shows the speed, the charge, and then cruise control on the left, and then guidance, like route guidance, on the right side. So not too much. As you can see, the shifter is up here, so you flick forward for drive or backwards for reverse. You do have a backup camera with guidance lines that do steer with the wheel. One annoying thing about this is the window switch. Now you only have 2 buttons for the driver's side to control the windows, for the driver and passenger side. If you want to control the rear windows, you actually have to push rear, and then you can open the rear windows. I don't like that. You should just have 4 buttons, because the rear, that's something else that will break. That's something that people will get confused to use. Like, people leave rear windows open on these cars a lot at VW lots, that I see. I want to also briefly talk about the quality. Everything that you feel is soft touch. I do like that. And everything looks nice. This is not real leather, it's a leatherette. I'll mention the seats as well. The front seats are a lot more comfortable than the rear seats. They have many ways of adjustment. On this Pro S with the gradient package, you could get the seats to massage, but it only works with the lumbar, which it's actually quite soothing on longer trips. Now let's talk about the heart of this car, the infotainment system. Now a lot of people have had many things to say about this, but overall it's decent. I like the layout of it. It's not terribly complicated to use. There are hard touch buttons on the bottom side of it. So something I've just discovered is at night when you're driving, something I don't like, you can't see the volume button because it's not lit. Because in the dark, you can't see anything. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't like that. 2 things that I did want to mention is that you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You could do it wirelessly or wired through USB Type-C ports. There's also a charging page, which you could see if the car is plugged in. You could see how much time it takes to charge. But I've experienced a lot with this head unit, good and bad, over the past few days. The last thing I wanted to mention is that you have heated seats, and the steering wheel is also heated on this model. Down here you just have 2 big cup holders, which is something I appreciate from VW. It looks like they could lift out. Wow, nice. And you could put your key fob down there to charge it, but more piano black. And then behind that is more storage. You have a wireless charger here, 2 USB Type-C ports, cup holder type things, or just, storage little dividers here, and then you can actually hide it as well. And also 2 comfy armrests. Up top, you do have a big glass moonroof that does not open, but it does make the cabin feel very airy. It does have a shade, but it doesn't completely block out the lights. You could still feel the heat from it. But one thing that I noticed, because I have a garage at home, this car does not have HomeLink. At least I've not found any buttons on the mirror, on here, on the visor here. There's nothing in the infotainment screen. So I don't know if there is HomeLink in the ID.4, which is some little thing that makes such a big difference to me. So this is my first electric car review, which is and has been an experience so far. I've driven, electric cars at work, like, Model Y. I've also driven other friends' electric cars, like Model 3s and Mach-E's, but this is my first extended time with an ID.4. Now, the first thing that I notice with this car is that it feels like you're driving a video game, because I can't say gas and brake, but the throttle and brake are very digital looking. Ooh, that's a nice SI. But I'm gonna put myself in sport mode. Damn it, there's a Kia. But I'm gonna put myself in sport mode in about 30 seconds, but in 1 second for you people. Okay. So I'm gonna be driving this a little bit sporty right now, but I'm in B mode, which is the regen braking mode. So as soon as I let off the gas, the throttle, it's like I'm driving in a lower gear. But for such a big car, this is 4,500 pounds, this feels very planted and fast. Well, not fast, but quick. And I can only imagine how the all-wheel drive ID.4 does. What's something that's annoying me is the lane departure, because on a back road, let's maybe jump it, whee! But on a back road, you're gonna be bouncing again, between the lines. So if there was an easier way to turn it off that I could find, I would love that. Something else, when I'm in sport mode, we're gonna take off again from a stop. Yeah, like 229 pound-feet of torque. So it's not fast, and it's really at the bottom end, because once you get to about 50, it's kind of like, it's a quick car, but once you get up to about 50 or a 60, highway speeds, it's not really as sharp at accelerating as like a Model Y or any other Tesla, or even a Mach-E would be. Like, it's more soft and progressive. It's not like instant thrust, but it rides very nice. If I was daily driving this, I have been daily driving this. I felt pretty comfortable. I'm actually going to turn around and we can actually see one of the things that I like about this car. It is the tight turning circle. So we're going to stop here, turn around. And for a big car, it turns tight as hell, but let's get on it. It's so weird that there's no noise, like there's no engine that's roaring, talking over me. That's full throttle. And it's so weird, you just hear wind. It is very fun. It's like being in a roller coaster, but if you are driving it spiritedly, I would have it in B mode, because it, kind of helps you, slow down on, decelerate on some turns. But the main idea of this car is not to be sporty, and that's something that I've figured out. And that's something, as soon as you look at the car, you'll figure that out. It is so weird that it's quiet. I'm also kind of learning. But like, for a 4,500 pound crossover, it's very light on its feet, and I guess that's due to the batteries being low down, gives you a nice center of gravity. And because this is rear-wheel drive, it takes turns very well. There is a bit of body roll. Jump! it's like, it's such a foreign feeling having it be this quiet and I'm flying, you know, coming in hotter on the corner, slow down, the brakes are a bit mushy, you feel the weight of the car, but you're, you know, you just like feel a little like you feel like you're in control, but it is not sporty, but it handles very well for a car like this, very well. So if you're, you know, hustling your kids to soccer practice, you know, late on a twisty road, you'd be pretty comfortable.
The one nice thing is that even like a commuter car like this is just, in my opinion at least, one like in this spec is solely a commuter car.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
But it still has that appeal of electric cars that enthusiasts like.
Yeah.
Because you still get that like pushed back in your seat instant torque. And that, I mean, I will admit, I will concede, that's fun.
It is fun. Nissan Leaf? No! This is better than a Leaf. But something else that I've discovered, wow, I'm also just like, this is kind of fun to throw around, you know, for being a crossover, because you could probably never do this with a Tiguan. Like, Tiguan is underpowered. This feels much more powerful and much more planted than a Tiguan. I can only imagine the grip of an all-wheel drive ID.4. It is so engaging for a big car like this. And I get like, and something that's interesting about this, you know, for being a more mundane electric crossover, is that the tires are staggered. The fronts are 235s, the rears are 255s. And it really grabs, man. I'm having fun. I shouldn't like this car.
They're staggered?
These are staggered. That's the thing that I was trying to, the spoiler.
Wow.
Yeah, but like, that's great. Like, I had fun. That was fun.
That was actually pretty fun.
That was fun.
Even in the back seat, that was fun.
There's a Model Y.
Model Y.
Let's get in. But after this, because we are, you know, we have exercised the, you know, enthusiast view of driving a family crossover, I'll put myself in comfort mode. Comfort and eco, wow, Integra. But as I put it in comfort mode, the steering lightens up, the throttle response is a little bit softer. Eco mode really dumbs down the throttle, which makes sense, but there is a button at the end of the throttle that'll, you know, kind of like kick down. But one of the things about this car after daily driving it is how the power is. Now, this does make less power than the all-wheel drive one, but the way how it puts its power down in a daily application, like passing, it's pretty strong. Like, every time I've needed to pass someone, it's been more than adequate, better than any Tiguan, because you have to wait for the thing to, you know, like, well, spool up, but also the transmission has to shift down. So in a daily application, it's not bad. I'm at 69%. Nice. But if I'm driving it normally, the steering is light. It feels very easy to drive. It looks big on the outside, but as I drive it, it does not feel that big. It doesn't feel cumbersome because the steering is responsive. That's why it feels like a video game. I am liking this more than I should be. So that was surprisingly fun. I had a blast with this car on the back roads, and for 59 seconds, 59.8 seconds, pretty quick on our little test track. I, at first, was planning to kind of give this car a bit of a negative review just because I was like, oh, you know, it must be boring, must not be fun, because I've only driven them in the city doing like 20 miles an hour at most. I've not taken it out on country roads. I have to say, I was thoroughly impressed and surprised by this car. Not only by the handling, but just how convenient it is to have an electric car. Yes, the charging is a big issue because that's how you get the car to run, but the convenience of not having to put gas in your car is very nice. If you have, you know, good chargers near your house, it wouldn't be too bad to deal with. Overall, if I would choose this over a Tiguan, I would choose this. This has much more power, even in base form, than the Tiguan. The Tiguan is underpowered. It doesn't have a feeling of substance. It doesn't handle as well. I prefer this because with the tax credit, this and a Tiguan are pretty neck and neck on price. The only thing about the Tiguan is that you could get a third row, but it's cramped. Thank you for watching this intensive review of the 2022 VW ID.4. I'm Bern. Thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, and commenting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, peeps.